And welcome to Second Cup on WTXL.TV. I'm Brian Jackson, the Florida State University's Associate Director of the Office of Fraternity and Sorority Life, Kerry Mallet, and the Director of Health and Advocacy and Wellness and University Health Services, Rezaei, join us this morning to talk to us a little bit about Hazing Prevention Week. Thank you guys so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
And how many years have you guys been doing this week, and what kind of led you guys to feel that there was a need for this?
Yeah, thank you so much for having us this morning. So we've been having this conversation for many years on a lot of college campuses, particularly at Florida State, really focusing on what are those things that detract from having a positive organizational experience. And so every year we have a week dedicated to programming where we're having a lot of conversations about, well, what is hazing? How can we prevent it? And how does hazing itself go against our institutional values?
Now, how would you define hazing? I'm sure different people have a different idea of what that might mean.
Sure. So it's defined in our code of conduct, and it's boiled down simply anything that demeans, belittles, or endangers someone else, no matter if they consent to it or not. The state of Florida has now expanded the definition to include former members as well, based on what some recent incidents have been. And so just making sure that anything, when you're bringing in a new member of the organization, or you can also haze a current member as well, based on the definition.
Now, you guys are going to have 3 events over the course of the next couple of days. What are those events going to be?
Yeah, tonight we're having a conversation with local attorney David Bianchi. He was very instrumental in passing Andrew's Law, which goes into effect on October 1st. Really having a conversation with our community about what that law means and how could we use it as a case of advocacy. So that's tonight. So that'll be our first kickoff, and then Kerry can get into our next few.
Sure, and then tomorrow we'll be at Market Wednesday, which is a Florida State tradition, just doing some outreach, talking about why people love the organization and what helped create that. And so really focusing on the positive aspects and understanding how you're able to build that culture and that commitment without hazing. And then on Thursday, we're doing a focus group with our community of not only evaluating what were those moments of how they felt connected to their org, but also how do they perceive hazing. And we're going to use that data moving forward in our efforts as well.
Now, have you guys reached out to, I guess, the local fraternities and sororities on campus to be a part of this week? What's been the kind of the reception that you've gotten from their end?
Sure, I can. So I get to work with our fraternities and sororities on a daily basis. We not only have representation on our committee from students in the fraternity and sorority community, but they have actually been really active in taking a voice as well and supporting our work, but also working a lot themselves as well to make sure they're building the org culture that we all want to have.
Now, how has, I guess, it's been a couple of years since the death of Andrew Coffey, how has that kind of changed, I guess, the feel and the vibe of sororities and fraternities over the entire campus of Florida State?
Sure. So President Thrasher has spoken about the new normal since Angie's death, and I think that's something that our students are really committed to. We're now seeing that most of the students in our community have joined after the suspension, after Angie's death, and so they're really coming into a culture of knowing that there's a lot of programming and a lot of support that they're getting as part of being in the chapters, and they've put in a lot of work at the ground level as well. Now,
on a lot of fraternities and sororities, sometimes hazing is a tradition that's been passed down from generation to generation. So how do you go about kind of stopping that? Because some people will feel like it's okay because it was done to them.
That's a great question, and the really big thing there is just disrupting the idea that that has to be a part of your organizational identity, that just because that was something in the history isn't something you want to carry forward. It really takes away from the experience of all members. And so we're having conversations with all organizations on campus. How do you have a healthy, positive organizational experience that is free from hazing? And that's something that everybody is committed to, but it's disrupting some of those historical understandings of what tradition may mean and really having conversations about why we're all joining organizations.
Now, are you guys targeting this for people who are currently in fraternities and sororities, or maybe for people who are kind of maybe thinking about pledging in the near future? What's your target audience for this week?
Sure. So we're really trying to expand to include students and any campus organization, knowing that it can happen, hazing can occur in any of those groups. And so through a lot of our work, we do work with students, fraternities, and sororities, but we're really trying to target some of our registered student organization, RSO, leadership, our marching band, club sports, organizations across campus, knowing that a student who is in one organization may also be in another as well. And so knowing that we can increase our impact that way.
And also, when you're going through this entire week and everything, What is it that you're hoping that students kind of gain? What type of knowledge are you hoping that they gain after they leave, I guess, this week of programs?
It's important for them to understand what are those aspects, those behaviors, those attitudes, those norms that contribute to a culture of hazing, and how they can really be a part of disrupting that. It's important that we centralize a lot of the conversations on the student experience, and that really speaks to that we want students to be part of our committee, right, to really tell us what are those things that they're committing to really end a culture of hazing. So we're hoping to come out of these conversations, particularly on Thursday with our larger community orgs, and say, as a community, what are we committing to? How do we create healthy cultural organizations? And that'll be the norm at Florida State.
All right, and let's put up the information for this event. It's going to be coming up all this week. It's from today, the 24th, the 25th, and the 26th of September. It'll be all over the Florida State campus. You can look out for more information about this on our website, WTXL.tv. The cost of this event is going to be free. Again, Florida State is really making it a point to try and stop the culture of hazing that can be found across colleges' campuses all across the United States, but especially right here at Florida State. And we'll have much more Second Cup coming up right after this short break.